The last sighting of 35-year-old Christopher Dickerson was outside of a popular bar in downtown Greeley, Colorado. It was around 2 a.m. on a Saturday night in October 2021. He was on his own. Chris interacted with the driver of a silver sedan before continuing home. That sedan followed him. Hours later, emergency responders were called out to a house fire on 15th Avenue Court. Chris's home had gone up in flames, and his neighbors were worried that he was still inside.
Chris! Chris!
Hi there, I'm Kevin, and welcome to Just Thought Lounge. Today's case is a disturbing one on a few levels. It begins with a chance encounter and likely good intentions, but the people Chris Dickerson befriended that autumn evening had their own history and issues. Unfortunately for Chris, everything would come to a head in the early morning hours and end in disaster. Let's take a look. At just before 6 a.m. on Sunday, October 3rd, 2021, in a usually quiet neighborhood in Greeley, Colorado, a frantic resident of 15th Avenue Court placed a call to 911. His neighbor's house had gone up in flames.
No, there's a house on fire.
Okay, what's the address?
I can't see the number. I'm next door.
Okay,
I think there's someone in there.
okay, what's your phone number in case we get disconnected?
You need to get the fire here.
They're coming as fast as they can, okay? What makes you think that someone's inside?
Because there's a dog barking, and there's a car in this place. Man, you gotta get the fire department.
Okay, just stay on the line with me. Did you go into the
Okay.
house?
Hell no, it's burning like crazy.
Do you know the people that live there?
I just know Chris. Chris! Chris!
The owner of the house was 35-year-old Christopher Dickerson. He lived with his white German shepherd, Juna. She was barking from the backyard behind a latched gate. Juna was not in immediate danger. Chris, however, was thought to be inside. His blue Hyundai Elantra was parked in the garage.
This is Officer Flores, Green Police. Anybody in there? Is anybody in there?
We don't know. The dog said we've been trying to get him up for.
Who lives there, sir?
His name is Chris.
Officers who had been nearby arrived on scene only moments following the call to find the house fully engulfed in flames. They did what they could to keep the blaze contained around the house while they awaited the firefighters. When they arrived, the fire was extinguished. From the ashes of the decimated house, officers pulled the body of Christopher Dickerson. The blaze had been so intense, his identity had to be certified through dental records. An autopsy on Christopher found that he had been deceased prior to the house catching fire. The medical examiner found 5 distinct stab wounds to his neck, all within a 1-inch radius. The implement used appeared to have been the handle of a tool, perhaps a metal file, which had broken in half. The blunt end used to kill Chris remained lodged in his neck, leaving little question as to the cause of death. It was ruled a homicide and the fire an act of arson. Chris had purchased his house on 15th Avenue Court only a few months prior. It had been an achievement from which he took great pride. Chris had spent a few years living with his parents, Alan and Elizabeth, saving as much as he could for a deposit. He was by all accounts thrilled to have finally moved in. Other aspects of Chris's life, however, in the months leading up to his death, had been in flux. A long-term relationship, which had led to a marriage proposal and engagement, had ultimately ended. He had also recently lost his role as a warehouse manager and shift supervisor at Noosa, a yogurt company. The period leading up to his dismissal had been contentious. Family later claimed that Chris had been fired in retaliation for speaking out against the company's treatment of contract workers. He was a principled whistleblower, and it had cost him his job. Nonetheless, Chris was said to be doing well. His home purchase had not depleted all of his savings. He had thousands in the bank. And he had job interviews scheduled. Things were looking up. Chris was spending time doing the things he loved: hiking, camping, and fishing. He loved spending time with his family, with whom he was very close, as well as his companion dog, Juna. When it was safe to enter the hollowed-out house, investigators began sifting through the ashes and piecing together the final moments of Chris's life. He was found by firefighters in what had been the living room. Wire springs, which had formed part of the couch, were discovered beside him, suggesting that he had been on the floor in front of the furniture when he died. Fragments of some of his clothing remained. A laptop, melted by the flames, was in the same room alongside the remnants of other belongings. Much of the interior had been saved in Chris's bedroom, where investigators found personal items piled on the mattress. When these items were removed, the bed revealed their clean outlines, showing where the smoke had not tarnished the bed beneath. It seemed unlikely that this mess was the normal state of Chris's new home. The scene suggested someone had rummaged through Chris's belongings just before the fire started. On the bed, investigators found Chris's wallet, and notably a jewelry box. It was empty. Chris's father, Alan, later confirmed that the gold ring from Chris's failed engagement had been returned to him when the relationship ended. It was now assumed to be stolen. Investigators began to piece together a timeline of Chris's movements. On the evening of Saturday, October 2nd, the single 35-year-old had texted a friend that he should be resting up for job interviews on Monday, but instead, he was hitting the bars. Cell phone records confirmed Chris traveled to downtown Greeley, where security cameras captured him parking on the street and walking towards an establishment called Cubetta's. He wore a t-shirt that read, "Straight Outta Fucks." Inside the bar, another patron recorded Chris on a cell phone video, standing alone off to the side of the dance floor, watching the crowd. Later, he met with a friend, Dolores, who was with another small group. Chris greeted her with a hug. They interacted briefly and then again once more outside. The group moved on to another location without Chris. Cubetta's closed down abruptly that night following a skirmish amongst drunken patrons. Individuals poured out of the back doors. It was here that cameras captured Chris in a brief interaction, one that investigators believed would lead to his murder in a matter of hours. While walking past a silver Malibu, Chris paused and exchanged words with one or more individuals in the vehicle. Then, he continued on towards his car, which was parked on a nearby street. As he did so, the Malibu appeared to be following him. The car circled the block and was captured driving a street behind Chris as he headed for his Elantra. After Chris walked past a shop window, the reflection of the Malibu was captured in it moments later. Finally, at 2:16 a.m., a Ring doorbell camera on 15th Avenue Court showed Chris's Elantra driving back to the house, followed by a silver sedan. The Malibu reached Chris's house, and after a moment's pause at the end of the drive, it pulled in behind him. Investigators tracked the Malibu back to Cubetta's, where Chris was first captured encountering it. From the cameras at the bar's back entrance, two figures had emerged from that car and then returned to it at the end of the night. The two larger women caught on camera had distinctive features. One wore her hair in a high twist on top of her head and a visor. She wore a long-sleeved black top with white lettering down the sleeve. Her companion was in a pink hoodie and jean capris. Outside of Chris's house, the same two figures were captured. After some time inside, the group emerged from the house. The two women moved the Malibu from the drive onto the street and then got into the Elantra with Chris and drove off. When they returned a short time later, all three once again entered the house. At 5:08 a.m., a figure emerged from the front door and got into the Malibu. That woman remained in the vehicle for almost 5 minutes before the second left the house and got into the passenger side of the car and then drove off. After only a few minutes, the car returned. Multiple cameras caught what happened next. Only one person re-entered the home. Flashes of light were seen from the window. The fire had been lit. When the person exited once more, they were walking, not running, to the car. The flames illuminating behind them through the front window as the women left the scene. License plate readers around Greeley captured the registration of the silver Malibu, which returned to a Mr. Rodriguez. Curiously, after the Malibu left 15th Avenue Court, it stopped at a second local address, an apartment building where the car was left. From that address emerged a Chevy Tahoe. The arsonists had switched out vehicles. That Tahoe was also photographed by a plate reader. It was registered to the sister of the Malibu's owner, a woman named Stacy Rodriguez. At 5'4" and roughly 250 pounds, 19-year-old Stacy fit the build of the woman seen out and about in Greeley and outside of Chris's house on the night of the murder. She and her girlfriend, 23-year-old Hosanna Varela, frequented Cubetta's bar downtown. It was one of the few establishments in Greeley where the underaged Stacy was served. Having verified their identities, police tracked the couple in the Tahoe while they ran errands on an afternoon in early November.
Are you okay to talk to me? Is that okay?
I guess.
Okay. You don't have to talk to me if you don't want to. Is that okay?
What is it about?
Well, I just have a question about a case that I'm working.
Oh, okay.
So is that okay if I talk to you? Are you okay with me talking with you?
I mean, I don't know. I'm scared.
Hosanna and Stacy had met while working together at JBS, a food manufacturer based in Greeley. Hosanna was the mother to 3 young children whom she shared with her high school sweetheart, a man named Javier. She and Javi, however, had separated following her affair with Stacy Rodriguez. The two women's living situations had changed over time, but they had moved in together intermittently. When questioned, Hosanna denied recognizing a photo of Chris Dickerson, and at first she would not confirm whether she was with her girlfriend on the night of October 2nd.
Quick question. So, case I'm working, we're talking to everybody who was at a bar on a night, October 3rd, 2013. It would have been a Sunday morning, Saturday night leading into Sunday morning. Okay, were you ever at Cubetta's that night?
October 3rd?
Yeah.
It was on Saturday?
Saturday into Sunday morning.
I think so, yeah.
Who were you there with?
It could have been with, I have no idea, my sister or, yeah.
Who is that?
Stacy.
Okay, were you there with Stacy?
Maybe. I could have been, yeah.
All right. Do you remember October 3rd at all? Okay. When you were there, did you ever see this guy?
No, he doesn't look familiar.
He doesn't look familiar?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You never saw him? Never saw him at the bar or anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay, the case involves him. That's the case I'm investigating.
Oh, okay.
But you never saw him or anything?
He doesn't look familiar.
Okay. All right. Did you ever go to anybody's house that night?
No.
You never went to anybody's house?
No.
Okay. Never went to this guy's house?
No.
Okay. Would you have been...
While Hosanna was questioned, an officer was speaking with Stacy Rodriguez, who sat in the passenger side of her Tahoe.
She was at Cubetta's last Thursday, and maybe a week or 2 prior to that.
I would go off and say that.
Yeah.
She doesn't believe she's ever been to the 2413 15th Avenue Court address. She doesn't know anybody who drives a silver Chevy Malibu.
No.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And have you ever driven a Chevy Malibu?
No.
Okay. What's your current...
Similar to Hosanna, Stacy denied any connection to the crime scene, admitting only to have been at the bar on the same night as Chris, though never encountering him. Detectives knew better. The registration on the Malibu was in the name of Stacy's brother. The car was regularly driven by her mother. Cameras tracked the two women switching vehicles at her mother's address. Critically, they were on multiple surveillance cameras leaving the bar in that vehicle, then coming and going from Chris's house.
Step over here. Okay, turn around. You're under arrest.
For what?
I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead and put your fingers together. There you go. Yeah. Simon, turn around for me. You're under arrest. You're good. You're under arrest for first-degree murder, arson, burglary, and tampering with a deceased body. Okay? Alright, that's what you're being charged with. Stacy's being charged with that as well, too. If you want to talk to me, I'll listen to your story. I'll always listen to people's story.
Yeah.
Okay? Is that something you'd like to do, is talk to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Can we talk?
We're going to talk at the station.
Okay.
Okay, away from everybody else. Away from Stacy.
Okay.
Is that something you'd like to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, I'll hear your story.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I can see it in your face.
Okay.
Alright. She wants to talk. Good. Stacy, have you been informed of what you're arrested for?
No.
Okay. Being arrested for first-degree murder, arson, burglary, and tampering with a deceased body. Okay?
Is there proof of that?
Yes.
The case against Stacy Rodriguez and Hosanna Varela was compelling. One of the two women, or perhaps both, had stabbed Chris Dickerson to death inside of his home that night, later returning to light the place on fire. Regardless of the role each of the women had played, they were both culpable. But there were gaps in the investigators' understanding. There was no discernible motive. They had only speculation that the ransacked bedroom and missing ring pointed to a burglary, which could have been the women's plan, or it could have been a mere afterthought. So they sought to make a deal. As the two women awaited trial, Hosanna eventually agreed to talk. She would fill in the gaps of the narrative for prosecutors in exchange for a sentence of 32 years in prison. But she would also be given the opportunity to have that sentence reduced in exchange for truthful testimony against Stacy. The story she told, if it is truthful, was nonetheless in many ways unbelievable. Hosanna began by explaining that her relationship with Stacy had come about while her and Javi were going through a rough patch. Stacy had offered her all of the compliments and attention that she had been lacking at home. But over time, the love affair had warped into a nightmare. She was scared of Stacy, who she claimed had become abusive. She claimed that Stacy had bragged to her about being part of a gang based in California, and that Stacy had committed murder before meeting Chris Dickerson, possibly killing as many as 4 other people.
Like she was like associated with these people. Like I don't know, her gang that she was associated with. I never met them, and she was always fearful of them.
Is that a local thing, or she's from California, right?
Yeah,
was it a California thing or a local?
She said that they were from California, and her brothers are involved with them. One of her brothers that he's in jail right now, and so I don't know if it could have been them.
Was she close to her family?
She was not really, but I know she was real close with one of her brothers, and that's the one that is in jail. She was the closest with him.
Okay.
But then.
On the night of October 2nd to the 3rd, as they left Cubetta's, Stacy was asking around for an after-party. They would often go from the bars to a house party, and they rarely knew the people whose homes they partied in. As Chris passed the Malibu, Stacy had called out to him. He did not have a party planned, he said, but he had invited them back to his place because he had a few beers to share. Once at the house, they all began drinking, just Budweisers at first. The group left briefly to pick up Chris's friend, Dolores, who had called him for a ride home. When they returned, the vodka came out. Stacy began pouring shots. Hosanna provided a handful of damning details about what she claimed was Stacy's plan to kill Chris. She told detectives that when the group returned from giving Dolores a ride home, her girlfriend took on the role of bartender. Stacy purposefully served Chris double shots of vodka while pouring herself and Hosanna watered-down versions, which only appeared to be the same drink. After Stacy and Chris had a cigarette outside, an argument broke out between the two of them in the kitchen, later moving into the living room. As it escalated, Stacy began throwing beer bottles at his head.
She's kind of standing, and then Chris is on the couch.
Yeah, and I think he's trying to get up. I don't know.
Okay.
And then she grabs the beer bottle and goes to hit him, but she misses. And I go, no, don't. I go, let's just leave it. You know what I mean? Let's go. And she looks at me, and she I think she grabs another beer bottle, has that same one in her hand, and then that's when she hits him on the head, then gets another one, and then hits him again, and there's blood and...
According to Hosanna, Stacy instructed her to retrieve a nail file, which appeared to them to be a shiv. It had been sitting out on the kitchen table. She handed this tool to Stacy and then retreated to the kitchen. Hosanna heard but did not see what happened immediately afterwards in the living room. But she knew Stacy stabbed Chris repeatedly. Afterwards, Hosanna recalled Stacy entering the kitchen, blood on her hands and her face, lit up with energy. She was glowing. Apparently, Stacy then licked blood from her hand and remarked, "Oh, that's dirty." She then pulled Chris from the couch to the floor. This was an attempt to stage the scene, to make it appear as though there had been a struggle, Hosanna said. This way, Stacy could claim she killed Chris in self-defense. Her girlfriend compiled Chris's belongings in his bedroom, placing select items in a backpack as she went. Chris's wallet was pulled from his pants pocket and added to the bag, Hosanna claimed. The two women purchased a container of gas and returned to the scene. While Hosanna waited in the car, Stacy set the fire, then leisurely walked back to the vehicle. Though some details of Hosanna's story were strange, overall, it was corroborated by the physical evidence. Hosanna's version of events, of course, was not the only one on offer. Stacy's legal team would argue that she did in fact stab Chris Dickerson in self-defense. They claimed that he was drunk, had turned aggressive, and had left Stacy with no choice. Stacy even conceded that she was the one that had re-entered the house to set it on fire. The cover-up and subsequent lies to police had been poor decision-making born of fear and panic. That did not make her guilty of murder. The trial commenced in February 2025. Stacy's defense team argued that every decision in the case could be traced back to panic. First, when Stacy stabbed Chris while in fear for her life. Then, when Hosanna, faced with decades in prison and separated from her children, decided to lie in exchange for a proffer. And finally, the prosecutor's office, when they accepted Hosanna's strange story as the truth because they were worried that there were far too many gaps in their theory to proceed to trial without her testimony.
Ms. Rodriguez was 19 years old at a stranger's house under a situation she didn't think. Thought there was going to be more people. Thought it was going to be a party. And it went differently. It turned differently. He did corner her. She had to push him away, and it didn't stop. So think about all of that. That is what this case is about. It is about panic decisions, decisions made under pressure, relying on distorted facts that don't make sense to fit a narrative because you need that narrative. They need that narrative. But it doesn't go with logic and it doesn't go with reason. Ms. Rodriguez, Stacy defended herself. She defended the woman that she loved to try to keep them safe.
Based on the details Hosanna had provided, the state believed that they understood why Stacy had turned homicidal. She had been jealous. Hosanna testified that after the group began drinking in the house, Chris had playfully slapped her on her backside twice. She told jurors that Chris had paid more attention to her than to Stacy, asking her questions about herself and engaging her directly in conversation. Hosanna believed this had caused Stacy's abrupt change in mood. She did not witness any behavior from Chris that indicated that he was the initial aggressor.
Had Mr. Dickerson ever been violent towards either you or the defendant?
No.
Okay. Had Mr. Dickerson ever sexually assaulted you or the defendant during any encounter of this?
He did slap my butt twice during, like when I would just stand up, he was just kind of like, it seemed like if he was just too happy, like really, just too over, just.
So to be clear, during this initial time, Mr. Dickerson did touch your butt.
Yeah.
And did you take that in a very overtly sexual way?
No. I mean, I was just kind of more scared of Stacy seeing because I didn't want her to.
Objection.
I had asked her, when did she know that she wanted to kill him? And she told me when we were in the car, picking up his friend.
And to be clear, in the sequence of events, Mr. Dickerson touching your butt was prior to that trip to go pick up Miss Vigil.
Yes.
Hosanna testified that the physical confrontation began in the kitchen between Stacy and Chris. Taller than Stacy by roughly a foot, but weighing considerably less, Chris was leaning over her, though they were not touching. It was Stacy that acted first.
I remember they just started arguing, and I don't remember what it was about. I don't remember kind of, like what exact words were being said, but I do remember Stacy was up against the wall and Christopher was just kind of like over her and just kind of like bearing over her. And I remember kind of like stepping in, like wanting to like get him off of her. And that's when she pushed him. She pushed him off of her. And I think he fell, he stumbled and got back up and he started yelling. And I remember him just saying to get out of my house. At one point she pushed him on the couch and grabbed a beer bottle and wanted to hit him with it. And I told her, no, like, let's just leave. We could just leave, And she just looked at me and threw the beer bottle. And then she grabbed another one and threw it again on his face. And at this point, she's on top of him, like with her like knees, like using her weight on top of him. And then she tells me, she goes, go get that thing. And so I went and I just grabbed it and I just gave it to her. And then she tells me, go to the other room in the kitchen. And so I went to the kitchen and that's when I started hearing her stab him. And that's when I realized what she was doing.
The state asserted that Hosanna held the truth from law enforcement because she feared what Stacy would do to her and to her family. Her claims of an abusive relationship were questioned by the defense, who argued this was nothing more than a convenient framing of the relationship that emerged only after the fact. If there was a power dynamic in the romance, they said, it went the other way. Stacy was only 19 years old when she first met Hosanna. She still lived with her mother, and it was her first serious relationship. Hosanna was 4 years older. She was the mother of 3 children and had lived independently since the age of 18. The defense sought to paint her as a drunk who routinely ignored her commitment to Stacy by returning to Javi. Stacy accepted this poor treatment, they said. without complaint. Investigators had found 51,000 photos on Hosanna's cell phone, including thousands of selfies. Despite multiple claims of physical abuse, not a single one of these photos showed the injuries she claimed Stacy had given her. There were, however, photos of the couple appearing to be happy with her children.
You say, you're telling this jury under oath, you saw her pull some Hannibal Lecter stuff, drinking blood, saying it's dirty after she just unprovokedly murdered. And you're just letting them her around your children, right? Thank you.
There may not have been photos supporting Hosanna's claims, but there were letters and diary entries. The young mother recorded personal statements in the notes function of her cell phone. These included entries expressing her regret over her separation from Javi and her fear of Stacy. One entry documented an incident in which Stacy allegedly held a knife to her throat. She also produced incriminating messages. In one of these, Stacy wrote, "I'll kill an MF for you," like 6 feet under. Then there were the jailhouse letters, handwritten notes passed through the county jail from Stacy to Hosanna following their arrests for murder. The most incriminating of these, Stacy denied writing. In one letter, the writer threatened both Javi and their 3 children. In another, written on a paper towel, the writer urged Hosanna not to speak with police. "I hope you kept the same story. You ain't dumb, I know. You ain't see or do or hear anything. You're cool, okay? So don't give it to them." The writer then stated, "I know it's baby Joker's fault. And don't be stupid. Play dumb."
You said it's a note from Stacy.
Yes.
Why do you believe it's a note from Stacy?
She called herself Baby Joker.
Okay. And specifically in People's Exhibit 204, it referenced it's baby Joker's fault.
Yeah.
It's like saying it's my fault if I go by that name.
Yes.
Hosanna testified that Baby Joker was Stacy's gang name. Stacy conceded it was indeed her nickname, but given to her by other inmates at the county jail. It wasn't difficult to see why. Mostly while the jury was out of the courtroom, Stacy smiled, laughed, and joked around routinely. She behaved this way every day she was on trial for murder. When she took the stand in her defense, Stacy told the jury that she suffered from social anxiety. This caused her to become very quiet and meek. Sometimes she smiled and laughed. It was a nervous reaction.
Tell me, when you get anxious, do you get quiet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you sometimes laugh?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Do you laugh maybe at times? Is it just kind of the response to the anxiety?
Yeah, it is.
Not necessarily that you're laughing at something funny?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have like a lot like social anxiety, but like I am like very like secure with like myself. Like I know, you know, like I feel
okay.
Like I'm secure with myself.
Stacy sought to debunk the theory that she was mad with jealousy on the night Chris was killed. She was simply not a jealous person, she said. She did not perceive that Chris was paying more attention to Hosanna as they drank at his house. He had touched her butt as well.
Did you ever see Mr. Dickerson touch Hosanna's butt?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did he ever touch your butt?
Yeah, he did.
When?
Just like, it was like twice. When I was like passing like the door frame of the, like from the kitchen entering the living room.
Okay, so leaving from the kitchen, going to the living room?
Yeah.
How did he grab your butt?
How?
Yeah.
He was kind of just like.
Just like a tap?
Yeah, so I kind of just, I was like, oh, maybe he was an accident, you know? Because people like, when they walk, some people sway their hands and stuff like that. So I didn't really think too much of it.
According to Stacy, the argument with Chris began around his use of the shiv, which sat in view on the kitchen table. He bragged to her about getting into fights while carrying it. In response, she asked him if that made him a man. He took offense and began coming towards her aggressively.
He was upset.
How could you tell he was upset?
Because he like took a step closer and he's like, "Are you calling me a bitch?"
Okay.
And he's like, what'd you say? Are you calling me a bitch?
You're in the corner. His arms are over you. He is leaning over you, yelling in your face, saying, did you call me a bitch? You can feel his breath and his spit. What happens?
Well, I kind of just I was trying not to make eye contact or nothing because I didn't want to do something that was going to escalate the situation. So I wasn't trying to make him think I was trying to stand up to him. So I wasn't making eye contact. So I was kind of just looking off to the side.
Okay. Where's Hosanna?
She's right next to me.
What is she saying?
Well, at first I think it caught her off guard.
Okay. Does she ever say anything?
Yeah, she does.
What does she say?
She tells him to get off of me.
What do you do at that point?
When he turned around to look at her, I pushed him back.
In this version of events, the two women used this opening to run for the door, only to have Chris grab Hosanna and pull her towards him. Stacy was unable to open the door and leave the house for an unknown reason. In her attempt to save her girlfriend, she was pushed onto the couch. A physical struggle with Chris ensued. Hosanna introduced the shiv into the altercation, though not by Stacy's instruction, she claimed. Hosanna had taken it from the kitchen table, but it ended up in the possession of Chris, who had perhaps pulled it from her hands. The two fought over the weapon. The result was Stacy stabbing him. She testified that she did not know how many times, but when she was able to sit up, the tool had broken in half. And Chris was on the floor, the shiv in his neck.
And I don't know how many times I did it, but I just was going like that. But yeah.
Okay.
Stacy told the jury that the subsequent steps taken by the women that night happened in a blur. Hosanna had taken control. She had placed items into a backpack and carried them from the house. She also drove to the gas station and instructed Stacy to burn the house down.
Do you go into the house?
Yeah, I do.
Why do you go into the house instead of Hosanna?
I don't know why she told me to go in there, but she told me to go in there and light everything on fire and to kill the dog.
The state questioned the logic of Stacy's story.
Okay. And so then tell the jury what happens after. After you pull Hosanna away and he comes towards you.
He pushed me onto the couch.
He pushed you to the couch. Ma'am, how much do you weigh?
I'm not sure. At that moment, I'm not really sure. 250?
Okay. And is it your testimony that he's super strong?
I believe that he was. And I was also drunk, so it was easier to obviously catch me off balance like that.
Okay. So it's because at that point you're very drunk and your balance isn't
He's
good.
also a man, so.
Okay. And you would agree that you outweigh him, right?
Yes.
Objection calls for speculation.
Overall.
And you're just saying because he's a man, he can push you all the way through the couch, right?
Yeah.
Then at that point, just randomly, this weapon comes miraculously from Hosanna to you.
To one of us, I'm not sure who.
You don't know if it was Chris or you don't know if it was to you?
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know who had the weapon first?
No, I don't know who she brought it to.
Okay. Who did it go to first? Who touched it first?
He did.
Okay. Is it shocking and surprising to you with all that movement how close all of those stab wounds are in the same area on his body?
I mean, it could happen.
Say that again, ma'am?
I said, it could happen.
It could happen?
Well, yeah, it happened here with that.
Perhaps most damning to her case was Stacy's continued assertion that she was not the author of the most incriminating of the jailhouse letters. Prosecutors pointed to the remarkable similarities in the language used in the letters she admitted were hers and those that she denied writing. The unknown writer used the same abbreviations for phrases and applied them with the same frequency, writing SMH, LMFAO, and STD over and over. The writer used the same Spanish terms interspersed with English. They directed the same allegations of infidelity at Hosanna. Curiously, neither Stacy nor the mystery writer, who was evidently attempting to frame her, knew how to spell the word even correctly, though used it frequently.
And so a person would have to write that throughout, know exactly how you spell this,
Yeah.
right? They'd have to use the term Hermosa, LMFAO, right?
Yeah.
Shake my head,
Yeah.
low key,
Yeah.
TF,
Yeah.
ASF,
Yeah.
stupid little hose,
Yeah.
ugly little hose,
Yeah.
nasty little hose,
Yeah.
STD having asses,
Yeah.
smacking hose,
Yeah.
the N-word,
Yes.
infidelity,
What?
infidelity, cheating on people,
Oh, yeah.
right? Lawnmower de mi vida,
Yeah.
right? They'd have to do all that. They'd have to know all that, number one, right?
Yeah.
And then they'd have to put all that together in these notes.
Yeah.
And specifically, that's what you're saying happened.
Yes.
Despite her impeachment on the stand, Stacy's attorneys presented a full-throated defense. They played jailhouse calls between Hosanna and her children, emphasizing the pain in the young mother's voice. She would say anything to be released, they argued. And the claims she had made against Stacy did not add up. For instance, Hosanna claimed that Stacy had stolen a Walmart gift card from Chris and used it for a purchase sometime later. But 8 additional gift cards were found in the house after the fire. Why not also take these? She had stated that she saw Stacy steal Chris's wallet from his pants, but it had been found inside the house as well. The engagement ring was never located. The defense summarized Hosanna's shocking claims about Stacy. They argued that these were too numerous and unrealistic to be believable.
A domestic violence batterer who hit their partner with a car 3 different times, held a knife to her throat, beat her, caused cuts all over her body, and who threatened her children's lives. A serial killer who killed 3 to 4 other people and then burned their bodies to get away with it. And now also a gang member in an unknown California gang. Someone who's really into fires and steals their murdered victims' belongings to just burn them later. And now a person who apparently lies under oath about having social anxiety.
They further argued that the physical evidence supported a finding of self-defense.
Why wouldn't you use the sharp end? If the prosecution just stood here and told you that he was laying unconscious on the couch with his neck vulnerable, why would she use the blunt end? Why would she risk that injury to herself? If her goal and her entire purpose for all of this was to kill him, you don't use the blunt end.
The state argued that it did not matter if each of Hosanna's beliefs about her lover were true. It was not likely that she was a serial killer, nor a gang member. It mattered only that Hosanna believed these things to be true, causing her to fear Stacy. She was telling the only version of events that made sense.
Think closely and clearly. How would self-defense have been detrimental to Hosanna Varela? What motive does she have to lie if she's trying to run out of this house and she gets pulled back by this man and her girlfriend defends her, saves her? If that was the truth, why would she not do it?
When the jury returned, they found Stacy Rodriguez guilty on every count: first-degree murder, arson, tampering with a deceased body, and burglary. Her murder conviction carries an automatic life sentence without the possibility of parole. At her sentencing hearing, Chris's father, Alan, spoke about the kind and loving son he had known. After a trial that had descended into a she said recounting of the killer's relationship, this final hearing was an opportunity to bring the focus back to where it should be: the life and heartbreaking killing of Christopher Dickerson.
Chris did not deserve to die that day when he befriended those two young women. Chris deserved so much more in his life. He had overcome so much more in his life. He had a serious relationship with a young woman and it didn't work out. That was a hardship for him. But he had a loving companion in his dog, Juna, and he adored her and she adored him. We now have Juna, and it's the only thing we have left of Christopher to remember him by. All his earthly possessions were consumed in a fire meant to conceal a horrible death inflicted on him by two individuals.
Weld County Judge Vincente Vigil handed down an additional 32 years for the arson, 12 years for tampering with the body, and another 12 years for each burglary charge.
Ms. Rodriguez, your actions were horrible. Your decisions were horrible, both in the commission of this act and the choices that you made after this act. It is a struggle for this court to understand how you can go from meeting a person to viciously stabbing them in the neck until they are dead in the course of a few hours.
As of publication, it is unclear what time, if any, will be removed from the 32-year sentence agreed with Hosanna Varela as a result of her testimony against her lover, Stacey Rodriguez. And that was the tragic case of Christopher Dickerson. Thank you for joining me, and a special thanks this week to Alicia Oakland, Joan Matsuda, Just Nick, Stephanie Burgess, Jennifer Cordero, Green Tea, CAC4KLHC, and Rusty Buckets for joining our Members Lounge. Your extra support is really appreciated. I'm Kevin, this is Just Thought Lounge, and I'll see you in the next one.
That you taught to make a killing's what they saw.